Too much or not saving enough. According to the New York Federal Reserve, the total American debt just hit $13.5 trillion. That's surpassing the previous peak during 2008's recession by over $847 billion. So could this tank the economy like it did 10 years ago? Joining me now, National Taxpayers Union Senior Fellow and Center for a Free Economy Board member, Mattie Duppler is back. Welcome back, Mattie.
Hey, Kennedy.
So let's talk about this because it's always worrisome when you hear numbers like this, because it sounds like people are just putting money and buying stuff with their credit card that they can't afford to pay off. What's really happening?
I mean, you'd be excused for being alarmed at this new report saying that households are holding $13.5 trillion worth of debt. But let's break it down. There's a difference between liabilities and creating equity. Excuse me. With liabilities, that's, of course, things that are coming due. That is things like credit card debt. Student loan debt, of course, is a big driver of this. But when it comes to building equity, things like mortgages, auto loans, that's a sizable portion of these debt numbers. So to say the debt number is large, yes, that sounds alarming. But when you look at what those make up, those debt numbers, it's not quite as alarming when you're looking at the overall health of the economy. Now, another thing to keep in mind when we're looking at these numbers, the idea that this is higher than we've seen since 2008, well, the economy is bigger than 2008. What I'm looking at is the measurement of that debt to GDP ratio. Back in 2008, that kind of debt was measuring 85% of the economy, where it's now around 69% today. So we're still in a margin.
Where do we want it to be?
Well, certainly we want it lower than 69%, but this isn't the same thing as the federal debt, which of course really has the ability to diminish our ability to borrow and to fund the government and the other programs that we rely on every day. You know, household debt, like I said, has a lot of different aspects to it. The thing that I'm watching most closely, of course, is that student debt. That's what we saw increase the most over the last time we saw this quarterly report from the New York Fed, and it's something too that we see a higher delinquency rate than other debt. That's really the important metric.
People listen to the newly elected Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and they just assume that that student loan debt is going to be forgiven in the very near future.
Exactly.
If that doesn't happen, what happens to that debt if borrowers continue defaulting?
You know, if you wait till something is free, if you want to see how expensive it gets, right? That's certainly the case with student loan debt right now. And like I said, the biggest problem is that delinquency rate. Seriously delinquent or loans that are due past 90 days, we see the biggest jump when it comes to student loan debt in those numbers. So what we need is for a little bit more frugality when it comes to spending. Now, one of the pervasive characteristics of the recession, of course, was the fact that wages didn't grow, so people didn't have a lot of discretionary income. That meant their spending came back down. But these fixed factors in people's budgets, like their mortgages, like their loan payments, are things that stay equal every single month. So I would encourage Americans, if we're looking at fixing this problem moving forward, to take those fixed costs into account before they start their budgeting. And of course, it's never too late to start.
Figure out what you got to spend and don't spend above that. It's easy to say, it's hard to do. We all got to try it. Mattie Duppler, thank you so much.
Thanks, Kennedy.
Coming up, Ivanka Trump used a private email address for White House business.